Welcome to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. You know, Karl Marx once said, "The last banker we hang shall be the one who sold us the roller coaster." You see, I've just learned there's a roller coaster designed to kill passengers. So naturally, I thought, that sounds a whole lot like Wall Street. Up, down, dead. The amusement park version of this roller coaster designed to kill passengers is called the Euthanasia Coaster. It reaches a height of 1,600 feet, followed by a steep plummet, and then 7 consecutive loops in which its suicidal passenger spins upside down while traveling at a speed of 223 miles per hour. The gravitational force is 10 Gs, enough to kill a person by draining the brain of all blood and oxygen. Cerebral hypoxia. Yes, the financial casino gulag version of the ride is called the Flash Crash and Rig Markets Ride. Wahoo! On this Wall Street flash crash, every ounce of wealth is drained from your pocket as the gravitational pull of multiple fake trays traveling faster than the speed of light pilfer enough G's to kill your entire portfolio. Death by financial hypoxia. Stacy.
That's right, Max. We did discover this week, and this is a story that has come out in the last year, there's suicide by roller coaster. Of course, it's a European who's invented this aesthetic death machine, he calls it. His name is Julie Jonas Urbanus.
Julie Jonas Urbanus.
He says it's an elegant and euphoric death. The science behind it is pretty simple. Spin fast enough and hard enough and your brain won't get enough oxygen to keep functioning. The vertical rolls of the coaster would essentially create enough centrifugal force on the body that the blood rushes down into the body instead of up to the brain. The condition is known as cerebral hypoxia, as you say.
All right, so I see the connection to financial hypoxia. The way that Wall Street uses high-frequency trading and algorithmic trading to spin the global economy, to spin customers around at these incredible speeds, forcing all their net worth to the extremities and killing the center, that being the global economy. So this is a fantastic way to commit financial suicide.
Well, this designer of this says, like, if the fall doesn't kill you, then you'll be dead usually by the first 2 of the 7 spins. But there's 5 more just in case. And with the broker, you have the high frequency trading that front runs everybody, but then you have the broker who churns their client. And certainly by the end, by the 7th time they churn your wealth, it'll be all gone, it'll be dead.
Well, I would say that most of the global G20 economies are dead right now. They are called officially zombie economies. Japan is a zombie economy. Britain is a zombie economy. It's already dead, but they're keeping it alive by spinning the bond market with quantitative easing and other cotton candy style derivatives to keep this illusion going. But it's already dead. The death has already, the rigor mortis has set in.
Because they took the financial euthanasia ride. And look, this is his image, his mock-up of what the ride would look like. As you see, it doesn't look particularly fun. He thinks it's like more fun. It's a fun way to go. It looks like terror to me, and that's exactly what most people look when they see the financial markets. They say, this doesn't look fun. It doesn't look like even a fun casino. You get no free drinks even. It's just they churn you to death, and that's it. But he says eventually this experience of taking the ride, accompanied with disorientation, anxiety, confusion, and euphoria, is crowned with Glock. G-force-induced loss of consciousness, during which the body is completely limp and vivid, bizarre dreams occur, such as being in a maze and unable to get out, or floating in a white space, not knowing who you are, why you are here.
Well, in this country, in Britain, the population suffers from Glock, don't they? I mean, here you have the head of RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, or the head of Barclays Bank. They're continuing to perpetuate fraud. They're continuing to spin the money at 10 Gs. They're continuing to steal. They're continuing to defraud massively. And the population has already been killed off, through austerity that pay for the fraud, the Glock.
This Julie Jonas Urbanus is also emblematic of what we see across the Eurozone for solving a crisis. Here, this is a euthanasia machine to sell to places like Switzerland and Luxembourg and Netherlands. But instead of just using a simple Glock, he has to come up with an elaborate fakakta thing which nobody could describe and seems actually more terrifying than just using a Glock. He comes up with an invention that is sheer terror, and that looks like the solution to the economic crisis across Europe.
Well, it's banker-assisted suicide. So this is different than police-assisted suicide, where people run out into a hail of bullets, hoping to get killed because they have lost all hope. Here, it's banker-assisted suicide. So you let your bankers perform the Glock roller coaster of financial hypoxia death machine, and with the hope that you won't survive because you'd rather not live in a world where Barclays Bank runs your government like so many puppets on a string.
Now again, go back to this euthanasia roller coaster. You see the image here. Now juxtapose it to the flash crash of May 6th, 2010. It looks like the same sort of death machine euthanasia. One's financial euthanasia, one's physical euthanasia. Markets in search of a fast buck. After disrupting the equity markets, high-speed trading is moving rapidly into bonds, currencies, and derivatives. Electronic trading has grown steadily over the past 25 years, but high-frequency trading has boomed since the turn of the century as technology costs and communication networks improve. It has also been associated with hair-raising glitches, most notably the unexplained flash crash of 2010 that some believe has hurt confidence and driven small investors from the U.S. equity market.
Yeah, it's killing people off, and it's making wild profits for the banks that are engaged in this. So they're taking high-frequency trading, which adds nothing to the economy. It just steals money, it pilfers from the economy. It's a financial death machine. And they're going to roll it out for bonds, they're going to roll it out for financial products, for currency products, because they just can't get enough of this death cult that is the City of London, that is Barclays, that is RBS, Lloyd's. It's just a cult of death. It's like Jim Jones. Remember him in the Kool-Aid? That's what this is all about. It's a death cult.
But again, you know how we had the euthanasia coaster, and the designer says there's 7 loops. Most will be dead by the second loop, but they have the 5 there just for security to make sure the person's dead by the end. This is the same thing. Here they're saying that small investors have left the equity markets as if they did it willingly. They were killed, okay, by being churned and then high-frequency flash crashed. Now, because there's nobody in the equity markets to pilfer from, the high-frequency trading profits have gone from $4 billion in 2009 down to $1 billion last year. So they're now looking for the next victims, and now they want to go high-frequency trading bonds, currencies, as if the currency markets aren't already killing enough people globally.
Yeah, there's already $5 trillion a day in Forex trades in the currency market, so they want to speed that up. They want to do 15, 20, $50 trillion in currency transactions a day. Of course, this is key to manipulating price levels of the fiat currencies around the world to hide the fact that you've got a smelly, stinking corpse called the UK economy, where the pound is crashing, where the bond market's about to crash, where Mark Carney, the hockey puck to the head, brain-damaged new central banker from Canada, is going to fly in to print money like it's coming out of a death machine, death roller coaster.
Now, the article also points out from the Financial Times that large swings in prices, another critical condition for high-frequency traders to prosper, have also lessened. So they've already killed all the clients. All the people who went on the financial roller coaster are dead. A lot of the small investors, a lot of the middle-class investors, there's only a few giant traders, whales, killing each other or attempting to scalp each other, slaughter each other. And now they're saying that they need the large swings in prices, and this is one of the things that this is the disaster capitalism, the disaster financialism that we've talked about, is they thrive on chaotic conditions. They need them in order to make a profit.
The volatility has been sucked out of the system. You see this with the volatility index, the VIX index, which is trading near all-time lows because it's tracking the vibrancy of a market composed entirely of cadavers. So you've got people, dead people, who are trading through artificial life simulation machines on death roller coasters and euthanasia projects, attempting to create an economy to replace something that was viable at some point before the machines run by kleptocratic larcenists in the City of London and Wall Street moved in and destroyed the globe.
And of course, markets are hitting all-time highs again. And of course, the financial media and the mainstream media, even the BBC and Channel 4 News, are all trying to tell you to come back into the markets because, look, they're hitting all-time highs. But again, this
Well, let me
article
make a
here.
point there. A quick point. If I took that to the tallest building in the world in the Middle East there, the Burj Tower, and I took a corpse up to the top floor, I would say this is the highest corpse in the world. It doesn't change the fact that it's a corpse. I mean, this rally of the stock market is based entirely on spinning dead corpses around a money hypothecator.
Well,
a hypothecator is something I just invented.
The very fact that this article then goes on to quote, many firms say that a multi-year collapse in equity trading levels, which have declined as investors pulled funds out of the stock market after the financial crisis, is squeezing opportunities for rapid fire trades. So there's no genuine, real liquidity, there's no real activity in there because it is a spinning, churning machine that has wiped out and killed every single one of the passengers on this financial roller coaster.
Yeah.
But now they've killed everybody, so they have to loop it back to the beginning, and it's just corpses going around this eternal financial euthanasia machine.
Right, and but they get a profit on the speed at which they can spin the corpses around the financial euthanasia machine. And those profits are turned into bonuses, and the bonuses are paid for mausoleums where these profiteering war criminals at Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and Barclays Bank can bury themselves after they've murdered the entire global population. So that all they're doing is they're gaming the system to build better mausoleums for themselves and their families as dead corpse, vampire, crooks, monuments to their thievery, their larceny, their transgressions, their law-breaking, their fraud.
So Karl Marx is right. The bankers have sold us the roller coaster that will kill them, which is the high-frequency trading algorithms.
Right. Well, I mean, Marx had some good things to say. I mean, unfortunately, you can't really compare it to the current system because we're in a post-capitalist system. We're in something other than a capitalist system. It's run by zombies and corpses and vampires who are trading transfusions of blood and volatility with each other to make it seem as though they have a pulse when they're actually just mummies and zombies and corpses and cadavers.
Well, he did predict the ultimate end would be hyper-financialization. Hyper-financialization is the equivalent of those 7 spins. It's churning, churning, churning for churning's sake. Just creating contracts and derivatives and contracts and derivatives and contracts and derivatives and spinning, spinning, spinning,
Well, I mean,
spinning. Eventually, it'll all be dead.
Don't kid yourself. I mean, because right now at Goldman Sachs, they're thinking, well, the person's dead on the second spin. We've got spins number 3 through 7 to consider. We can collateralize those spins. We can monetize those spins. We can sell forward the value of the corpse as they're spinning through the death spins and sell that forward to other clients who are hedging against the fact that they might be dead or alive or partially dead or alive at any given moment in time, and then sell that to a bank as a hedge against their position, owning some kind of collateralized debt obligation based on another corpse or dead people that they murdered with outdated mortgages and basic kleptocracy, and they're going to make another fee on this. So they always make money. All right, Stacey Herbert, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max.
All righty, stay tuned for the second half. I'll be speaking to economist Konstantin Gurdgiev. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to turn to economist Konstantin Gurdgiev. Our guest was, in fact, meant to be Sean Quinn, formerly the richest man in Ireland, now bankrupt like the nation itself. But like the nation, Quinn seems to have been hijacked by evil leprechauns. They were last spotted running naked across a field of 4-leaf clovers, trading contracts for difference on pots of tungsten gold. Konstantin, welcome to the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max. Delighted to be with you guys.
All right, Konstantin, tell us about IBRC, the bank formerly known as Anglo-Irish, which is now having its debts magically converted to sovereign debt.
Oh, IBRC is at the core, if you want, of the collapse of the Irish economy and the both political implications of that, banking implications of that, and economic implications of that. Going back, IBRC started as the bank which absorbed, as a bad bank, which absorbed together the assets and liabilities of 2 most insolvent institutions in Ireland. The Anglo-Irish Bank, which was the 3rd largest bank at the time of when the crisis struck, and also Irish Nationwide Building Society, which was a smaller size bank, which also had the same problems as as Anglo-Irish. The problems of careless loans being issued during the peak of the boom in large volumes, in large quantities, poor risk assessment, monoline lending in a sense that it was all lent into the property development, property investment, and property markets in general. And as a result of that, the collapse of the property markets has triggered the collapse of those two institutions as well. So going back, IBRC was the tool or the vehicle for unwinding the two insolvent banks. Now, 2 weeks ago, we've got a new legislation which is creating another structure to unwind IBRC. So in many ways, the government is now shutting down the bank that it was designed to shut down the other bank.
It seems a little bit like Argentina in that the debts that were incurred by speculators are now being institutionally passed on to the taxpayer, the citizen, who is going to have to deal with this for several decades, right?
Indeed, it is a shell game of debt. The debt from the Anglo-Irish Bank and from Irish Nationwide Building Society that was transferred to IBRC was still on the shoulders of the Irish Exchequer, in a sense that what they did in order to fund the IBRC is that they issued the promissory notes. The promissory notes counted as government debt officially as well. And as a result of that, because they counted as government debt and because they were fully guaranteed by the Irish government, they were eligible collateral. Now, they were eligible collateral not at the ECB, they were eligible collateral at the Central Bank of Ireland. The Central Bank of Ireland opened the emergency liquidity assistance line in order to fund IBRC on the foot of that collateral itself. There is 34 billion which was originally issued of those notes. Some of them have been repaid. Now there is about 28 billion outstanding. There was a schedule, very onerous and difficult schedule to meet in terms of the repayments of those over the years, which was running into 2031. And the government was unhappy with the cash flow which it entailed. It required the government borrowing every year 3.1 billion in the markets, rolling over that debt into effectively repayment of the promissory notes and a cancellation of the ELA. The ECB was unhappy about that as well because there was very little security on the foot of that as well. And therefore, both the ECB and the Irish government had an incentive to somehow restructure it. To a different extent, of course, Irish government had much more of an incentive. And again, about 2 weeks ago, that restructuring was announced. That restructuring now appears to be achieved without the direct consent of the ECB, and the ECB is currently examining the means by which the Irish government has restructured it. But the
Okay, well, Constantine, here you have a situation where private speculators gambled, they lost, they engineered the debt transference to the public in a way we saw in Argentina and elsewhere. Michael Noonan, the finance minister, is refusing to open up the books. The unaudited books. He doesn't want to have anyone look at these books. What kind of outrageous nonsense is this, that the taxpayer is asked to pay for these debts, but they're not allowed to actually look at the books at all? And Michael Noonan, of course, a reviled character in Ireland, hated by most as being a charlatan and somebody who's very loose with the facts, the truth, and accounting measures. Your thoughts?
First of all, I would claw back a little bit in terms of your assessment of Michael Noonan. Michael Noonan is in a very difficult position as the Minister of Finance. He is clearly actually a step up from the previous Minister of Finance. He has some ability. He's certainly shown some ability. The problem with the accounts and his refusal to disclose those accounts is, as you exactly pointed out, the Irish public is expected to undertake a 40-year deal in conversion of the promissory notes of the IBRC into the government bonds, which are 40-year bonds, on foot of no accounts since the mid-year 2012. We only have those accounts, and they're only partial accounts to begin with. And also at the same time, we are asked to do so with no projections by the government as to the cost of that deal. We have to remember that the Irish government has produced absolutely no estimates in terms of what are the costs and benefits of that deal are beyond 2015. Now, I keep reminding you, this is a 40-year deal, and we only have projections for 3 years. Now, the reason why Michael Noonan is refusing, and this here I'm speculating, of course, this is kind of, if you want, educated guess, why Michael Noonan is refusing to disclose those accounts is very simple. In the IBRC Bill 2013, the legislation which established the shutdown of IBRC and the conversion of the IBRC assets, or distribution of IBRC assets and liabilities, there is an Article 13 in that bill, which very clearly gives the minister power over NAMA, which is a unique power in this case and never was extended before in any case at all. It gives minister the power to compel or direct NAMA to purchase any assets out of the IBRC at valuations directed by the minister. So in other words, that makes the accounts commercially sensitive information, because it can give a material information as to the pricing that the NAMA is paying relative to the value of that book. And the government, I think, is trying to hold back on that, simply so that people like myself and other analysts don't look at it and say, hold on a second, you are clearly overpaying for the assets.
Yeah. Let me jump in. You know, clearly there is some obfuscation there, and I'm sticking with my assessment of Michael Noonan. Going back a couple of years, I got a financial journalism award from the University of Limerick, which he hassled the university about because he's against transparency. He's against anyone telling the truth about the what I call the financial terrorism in Ireland that he's a part of, and the rest of them. Let's talk about financial terrorism. Let me talk about Sean Quinn for a second. He was Ireland's richest man. He went bankrupt gambling on contracts for difference on Anglo-Irish. Explain what these contracts for difference are, and what role did the failed bet play in the downfall of Anglo, if any?
Contracts for difference are a very simple instrument, which is a leveraged buy-in into the right to own a share at a fixed price, but you don't actually hold the share. You only have the right to buy out a share at a fixed price. The difficulty there with that instrument is that A, it is a derivative. It can be fairly complex in terms of risk pricing. It can be very complex in terms of pricing overall. And in addition to it, during the peak years, there was a very significant leverage which was attached by those who were writing those contracts for difference. So, for example, people like Sean Quinn could have probably availed well in excess of 10 times leveraging on those products. In other words, when the shares started falling in value, they got a margin call. So Sean Quinn, in fact, heavily borrowed against the insurance company that he owned at the time, the Quinn Insurance. And as a result of that, he breached the Quinn Insurance, was found to be in breach of a number of regulations in terms of capital adequacy and things like that, and liquidity provisions. And as a result of that, the Quinn Insurance was effectively liquidated and sold onto the Liberty Mutual.
So I take it like Sean Quinn is like the Irish Warren Buffett if Warren Buffett were a gambleaholic and a crackhead.
I would say that that type of a connection would be very tenuous. Warren Buffett is the fundamentals investor. He is an investor who is basing his decisions on active management of the portfolio. And as a result of that, and also on factors and the fundamentals analysis of the firms. Sean Quinn was probably in his early years, when he was the true entrepreneur, he was like that. And probably the last moment of his entrepreneurial, if you want, spirit was the creation of the Quinn Insurance. Since then, since probably around, say, 2002, 2003, Sean Quinn, like the rest of the country, got caught up in the wheeling and dealing in property markets. And of course, he always had a dream to have a bank in his portfolio. Anglo-Irish Bank presented, through the contracts for difference type of vehicles, presented a good target. We have to remember that contracts for difference allow you to purchase anonymously the equities. So you do not have to disclose the shareholding you have, because you, in effect, don't really own the share. You just have a right to purchase that share.
Yeah, he took an enormous bet that he lost. And he should, you know, why are we crying about this guy? He made an enormous bet, he lost, and now he wants the state, like everyone else, to bail him out. But now he is part of this Golden Circle. What is their role, and how come the Golden Circle is not in jail yet?
Well, the Golden Circle, there are several Golden Circles in Ireland. Sean Quinn, in many ways, was a newcomer when he just started into it, and he comes back from the areas what's known as border counties. Border counties have always been underdeveloped, both in the Republic of Ireland and north of the border in Northern Ireland, and they always were considered kind of, if you want, very difficult place to do business. By building a very successful, at the time, business empire, Sean Quinn was a poster boy, effectively, for both the peace process, but also for the development of the Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland and the border counties. He provided tremendous employment in those areas, and he is still regarded somewhat as a hero in those areas as well. His disastrous bets on CFDs for the Anglo, his kind of, if you want, desperate decision to use the funds from the insurance company in order to cover some of those transactions. Those are really emblematic of the overall state of the nation at the time. speculative activity was very high. Everyone was caught up in that bubble. And Shankwin, in many ways, was just like a reflection of the nation on a grander scale. Now, Golden Circle. Golden Circle really is, it starts with the Maples 10. Maples 10 is a group of the investors who were put together by a law firm in order to try to rescue the Anglo-Irish Bank when the Shankwin disaster started to unfold and the price of the shares started falling. They were in effect offered loans by the Anglo-Irish Bank in order to purchase those shares themselves. Shankwin wasn't a part of that, obviously, but Shankwin is a part of the other Golden Circle of Ireland, the Golden Circle of those who rule Ireland, who run Ireland, who are embedded into the corporatist structure that is Irish governance.
All right, Constantine, we're out of time. Thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max. Anytime.
All right, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Konstantin Gurgiev, professor of economics at Trinity College, Dublin. You can find his work at trueeconomics.blogspot.com. If you'd like us to contact us, you can email us at keiserreport@rttv.ru or tweet us at Keiser Report. Until next time, Max Keiser saying bye, y'all.